I'm going to convene this meeting on May 15th, 11 a.m. at our regular office of business at Venture Oaks. It's the California Unemployment Appeals Board, and we're convening now, and we are opening the session. I always provide this statement at the beginning. The board will accept public comment on any agenda item or any other matter under our jurisdiction. Speakers are asked to limit their testimony to approximately 5 minutes on each agenda item and on any other matter under its jurisdiction not listed on the agenda. The order of the agenda may be changed to accommodate the board or the public. With that, I'll do the roll call. Michael Allen, Chair, present.
Laura Kent-Monning, present.
Michael Ng, present.
Bob Wachowski, present.
Thank you. So the next item on our agenda is I'll ask our board members, hopefully you've had time to approve and look at the minutes and make sure if there needed any corrections or changes. So with that, I would entertain a motion for approval of the minutes of our April 17th, 2024 board meeting.
So moved.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. So we've approved the minutes. With the chair's report, I'll try to keep it brief. We did very well this month. This was a very good month for us in terms of doing cases. We completed 1,355 cases in total that we closed. Of those, 1,297 were done with our CAM system, which stands for the California Appeals Management System, and we did 58 legacy cases. So as I usually do in these meetings, because I think it's always important to acknowledge that I want to acknowledge our board members for the very hard work and how diligent they've been, but also every level of the organization, from our field staff, our judges, all the staff that support them, our IT department to make sure that we communicate with one another, and for management for always trying to be diligent and telling us what's going on in terms of if there's an issue or of something of concern. So with that, that's my brief report, and I'll turn it over to basically reports from other board members.
Thank you, Chair Allen. I just had a few things to touch on this month. First and foremost is to congratulate Chair Allen on his recent reappointment to serve another term as our chair.
Thank you.
I think I can speak for everyone. Very happy to have your ongoing leadership and support. It's been a joy working with you, and I'm very glad that you have been reappointed. So congratulations.
Well, thank you. I know it's only saying that because I sent you pictures of the aurora and we had incredible views of the aurora last night, the Northern Lights on Friday night last week.
And then I wanted to just commend the field and the appellate offices for continuing to do such hard work, and seeing that case aging date go down, down, down is really wonderful. And I think a great way of reflecting all the hard work that everyone is doing month after month. And then finally, I wanted to just note the great work of Supervising Judge Bach. My colleague, I know Member Ng was involved in this, and IT certainly, and others as well, for rolling out an updated acknowledgement letter that we use to send to the parties when a case is registered at the appellate level. It's been rolled out with really improved clarity, I think, for the parties to have a better understanding of how to interface on their cases. And from what I understand, it will be also in additional languages. So I wanted to commend everyone for their work on that and our efforts to have ongoing clarity for our parties and to increase language access. Thank you.
Thank you. Member Ng.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I also wanted to join the Vice Chair Kent-Monning, in congratulating you. Chair Allen and I served together in the State Assembly, and I served in one of the key committees with you, and your leadership potential, your ability to communicate with individuals and constituencies really has served you very well. And I want to thank you for your openness to talk about issues that affect we as board members, and your door is always open, and I really appreciate that. And so congratulations. I wanted to again thank IT for my first laptop replacement in 5 years, and that goes to the issue of keeping equipment as long as possible. I'm an example of that. But as well as, and to conserve our resources, and then of course having a new laptop has made a world of difference. And also, again, it seems like a little thing, to call help, but we have a special procedure when we can't log in or we have technical issues, and I utilized that again this past week, and without even thinking, just got the assistance that I needed, and I don't want to take that for granted. So that's something that's extremely important. So, and finally, I wanted to thank the whole team. I really noticed a change at all levels to make us more efficient, yet more thoughtful, to make sure that we give all of the constituencies, all of the parties, the attention that they deserve and the respect that they deserve, and to know that all of our constituents are going through very, very tough times, as reflected in the budget, of course, but that each and every case means a tremendous, indicates tremendous need. And I think that the mission of our entire agency is reflected more and more and each and every day in the 5 years that I've been here. Actually, my 5th year anniversary was passed a couple of months ago. I just wanted to tell you that I do notice when the ship has changed substantial direction for the positive. Thank you.
Thank you. Member Wachowski.
I too would like to join in the chorus of congratulations to Chair Allen on your reappointment. It is a big deal. Good luck with the Senate and your confirmation hearing. I'm sure it'll be a rubber stamp. And I like the tone of the acknowledgments letters, Vice Chair. It sort of has a folksy, down to earth, hey, let us know if you change your address. It means, I think it meets people where they're at if they're going through this process. And that's also reflective of everybody's comments on just the culture of the agency. It's I'm proud to be a board member. We're doing good work. There's a competency level that goes in, a fairness, directness. It's not a giveaway program, but we're getting through the work. And each month when we have our reports and we show how the tide is changing, because I think the public out there knows that there's a backlog of cases that, from the pandemic and stuff like that. And it's nice to be part of a agency that's working, getting the job done. So congratulations again, Chair Allen.
No, thank you. And I think the tone of the comments is that all of us as board members, and I know I can speak confidently for the staff and management, that we all know we're here to serve the people of California, and especially when times are very difficult for them. And also on another level, we're here in service to one another, because when you serve one another, it creates a culture of cooperation and just wanting to see that everyone in this agency doing the work succeeds, and that when others succeed in our organization, we're succeeding for the people of California. So I think it's good to acknowledge that culture, and I appreciate the comments this morning. So with that and the board report, is there any public comment?
I have no hands raised for public comment at this time.
Okay, with no public comment, then we'll move the agenda. We'll get the report of our chief ALJ, executive director, which he'll give us an update on the state of the agency and field workload. So Judge Kutry, please take it away.
Good morning, Chair Allen and board members. I would like to start by congratulating you on your reappointment. You have served this agency so capably for the last years, and we are incredibly fortunate that you'll continue as our leader. Your dedication to our mission has been on display your entire time at CUIAB, and it is a personal and professional privilege to advance the agency's goals with you. So congratulations.
Thank you.
I'd like to get to some workload numbers and give you a couple of updates. Mr. Silva isn't here. I'll attempt to give a brief portion of his usual update as well. In April, our appeals came in at 7% over baseline. So a dramatic decrease continues in the appeals coming over from EDD. In April, the field offices closed just north of 26,000 cases across all programs. Just over 24,000 of those were UI PUA cases. Of that, about 1% are PUA cases, so we're seeing that program dramatically diminish. Along with those numbers, our open inventory resumed its downward trend, reducing by just over 3,500 cases. We do have some ALJs who are retiring and leaving for other jobs. So that's why we're well below the 30,000 case mark each month now. Also, the body of inventory and the types of cases we're hearing are different. There was a time when we were hearing cases that had many subparts per case setting, and that's leveling off a little bit. So we're expecting that 25 to 28,000 monthly production is probably the way it's going to look for the next couple of months at least. With the reduction in inventory, our case age dropped yet again from 97 days in March to 91 days in April. And as the board will recall, it was between 120 and 145 days for over a year. National average continues to be very high at 247 days. I don't usually discuss our time-lapse dates because they're so far out of compliance, but I do discuss them with the U.S. Department of Labor. And they have confirmed that our approach to handle the first in, first out case strategy is appropriate under our circumstances. So they're very pleased to see that our case aging is dropping, and they expect that eventually our time-lapse numbers will catch up, but not for some time. In April, Assistant Chief Hugh Harrison attended the National Appeals Review Conference in Washington, D.C. that is hosted by the U.S. Department of Labor. He participated in a week-long intensive scoring review of all states. And what they do is they take their quarterly quality review scores that are reported to DOL, and they score each other to make sure that the scoring is consistent nationwide. I'm pleased to report that California performed very well in its audit. To the extent that any of the final scoring tallies reveal any areas for improvement, we'll be sharing those with the field offices to try to gain points wherever we can. We were wondering whether there would be any substantive changes to quality review announced at this meeting, and they were not. So we don't anticipate any substantive changes to the scoring system between now and the next meeting, which could occur in the next year or two. Mr. Silva generally gives you a staffing update. I'll give you an abridged version. We filled 4 staff positions since the last meeting, which is excellent, but we lost 5. So we continue in this 1 step forward, 2 steps back in many months on staff recruitment. This is an issue that's going on statewide and even nationally in governments. So we're not alone, but we continue to recruit as much as we can to fill our vacancies. With those numbers, we have 19 recruitments still pending in various stages. Of course, the governor's May budget revision was released last Friday. It notably contains future position reductions across all departments in the coming fiscal years, notably fiscal year 25-26. Without the budget being finalized, it is far too soon for us to tell what impacts this will have upon CUIAB. But of course, we will update the board once anything concrete is known. I don't have any security updates to report since the last meeting, so that concludes my report, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Yeah, I just a clarification report. When you say we lost a number of employees, were these resignations, retirements, people going to other agencies?
So on the ALJ level, most retirements. I think I announced in the last meeting that we had an ALJ go to Superior Court and a new appointment, so that was wonderful. 1 or 2 have left for other agencies, but most of our ALJ separations are retirements. On the staff side, most of them are transfers. So they're getting jobs in other places, although there are retirements mixed in there as well.
Would this be considered like a normal attrition rate for a month, or?
I would say over the last 4 years, there hasn't been much normal about it. It's been higher than usual. But it's the recruitment side that's really been most impacted. So usually we can backfill those vacancies a lot faster. And that has been challenging for all agencies across the state in the last 4 years.
Well, I'll turn it over to other board members for questions. So Vice Chair Kent Monty.
Thank you. Just thank you for your report. And just one follow-up question to what Chair Allen was asking. Are there abilities to get assistance with the issues of hiring, sharing information with other state agencies? Is Cal HR helping with any?
We're all in the same boat, so
Okay.
it's kind of hard to leverage one agency over another. But we are exploring some cross-posting so that when we have vacancies, they'll get posted internally at other agencies at the same time they hit the open bulletin. So that if there's, so for example, if you work at EDD and you have an interest in exploring your opportunities in other agencies that are somewhat related, we would like to draw the interest of those employees as well. Now, we're not trying to take EDD's employees, certainly, But that's a natural exchange for us. Our employees do go from one to the other because they already have some experience in unemployment or disability law. But under the labor agency umbrella, we have had discussions about maybe expanding those job bulletins for a little more targeted approach. Right now, anybody can go on the state's vacancy website and search for vacancies, but having them posted internally also helps draw interest. That's one thing we're exploring. We've asked EDD if we can leverage job fairs and that sort of thing, but they're not doing any right now. They're in a little bit of a downsized mode from the pandemic staffing levels, but we've asked that if they have interest in doing another one, we'd like to send representatives to those as well.
Thank you.
Member Ng.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to clarify. So as far as the May revise from the governor's office, there isn't anything. I know that we've got the governor has to go through the legislature, but at this point, you're saying that there's no indication of any negative impact on our agency at this point?
Say there are some concerning items in there, especially that there's a contemplation of statewide department reductions in staffing. But those appear to be at least a year out, and we expect significant analysis of that to happen before it's implemented. And of course, this isn't the final budget. So my take on it is it's too early to tell. And that if any concern becomes concrete, we'll report on that in the meeting.
Okay, thank you. My second question goes to, first of all, kudos for your being in touch with local, national agencies, and also I understand that you'll be representing us at the NAWIPI conference coming up.
That's correct. There is a national conference. It's hosted by U.S. Department of Labor and the NAWIAP organization.
And
I expect to represent CUIAB.
in the course of interacting with other state agencies, I believe that our record has prompted some agencies to ask you what is the secret sauce, or would you help them? Is that true?
Yes. So we're in Region 6, U.S. Department of Labor, and we have a very active program of assisting other states in our region. And then we also participate in national conferences and calls where ideas are exchanged about how to reduce backlog and best practices. So we routinely have interactions with other states' leadership to try to share techniques. To that end, USDOL has really attempted to create some roadmaps for states that are struggling, and we contributed to that effort as well.
Well, that's good. I'm glad that we're a example of best practices, and hopefully the federal government, recognizing that, can manage to codify that and perhaps spread the word that California is the place. Thank you.
Yeah.
Member Wachowski.
You mentioned the conference that just passed, 1 week, the scoring procedures, and that there were no substantive changes. What was sort of the possibilities? What were you, the folks, bringing to the conference that may have been substantive changes that may be considered later?
Sure. As I understand it, the last revision occurred in 2011. There are over 30 criteria that are included in the quality review score sheet. So every hearing that's reviewed gets scored on all of those criteria. I don't have it in front of me, and it's been a little while since I looked at it, so I won't commit that to memory, but there's like less than a dozen that are considered due process criteria. So if you miss a score on one of those and you get a failing score on that, you automatically fail you automatically fail that review. Very rare, fortunately. But they're thinking of expanding the categories that result in a failing score upon failure. So one of the categories is, did you allow cross-examination of the parties? Direct examination, cross-examination, closing statement, those factors. If you don't offer that and you don't allow that to happen in a hearing, that's an automatic failing score. So we expect that some of the automatic failures will be expanded to other categories. So I do have a little bit of insight into what those might be. They gave us a preview at last year's conference, and I think that in a couple more weeks I'll have a much better idea of what they're looking at. We've been cautioned that change is very slow to occur. So it may not occur until or beyond the next National Appeals Review Conference.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you. We'll ponder what that secret sauce is, right? So next on our agenda is a report from Judge Rebecca Bach, who's our supervising administrative law judge for appellate operations. Who's going to give us an update on the state of the appellate workload.
Good morning, and obviously I'm going to start with congratulations to Chair Allen. It has been such a pleasure working with you all these years, and I look forward to many more. But I have a short report. We started a new Department of Labor year, April 1st, so the numbers start afresh. And so the requirements are to close 50% of our cases in appellate operations in 45 days and 80% of our cases in 75 days. And what we've done is close 26.2% of our cases in 45 days and 84.2% of our cases in 75 days. So off to a strong start. Also, the Department of Labor guidelines for case aging is to have a case aging for second level review of 40 days or less at the end of the year. We, for the first month of this year, have a case aging of 36.5, well below the guidelines provided by the Department of Labor. So as far as numbers are concerned, we're off to a strong start. That's actually my report.
Well, thank you, but it's a good report, and definitely we're moving in the right direction, so thank you. I have no questions, but I'll turn it over to our Vice Chair.
Thank you, Chair Allen. I don't have questions either. Thank you for the good report, and it's nice to see those numbers.
Member Eng.
Well, thank you. I've just freshly come from the training session and wanted to thank you and for all of the, I would say, the tips and treats, actually, because it's quite a treat to go through them, and for your responsiveness on the acknowledgement letter and other suggestions that have come from various parties, been incorporated into the CAM system. I really appreciate that. And also thanks to Chief Willoughby for that as well. And wanted to thank Vice Chair Kemp Monning for your special review of the whole CAMS procedure from the point of view of the board members, and spending extra time to make sure that we incorporate those best practices that can occur just really across the board. So thank you very much for that extra time, and also for making yourself available virtually instantaneously on some of those problem cases that we've had. So looking forward, I think every effort has been made to make sure that our experience is not just rewarding, but that it's effective use of our time and using the latest technology. And I think we are, hopefully, the best practices that you and everyone else had with CAMS. I can't but believe that every state agency in the United States was going to want to take a look at that. So I hope we have the copyright on that, Jeffrey, and we charge a pretty penny for that secret sauce. I'm just kidding, of course. I'm sure that whatever we know will be made available to anyone that notices. Thank you.
Member Wachowski.
So this is a new fiscal year for the Department of Labor, and Judge Kutry just said that they've accepted our first in, first review. So that's a different way of looking at the volume of cases that we have, and different way for the judges to look at it. Is it your expectation that this year we're going to go all in on that first in, first review, which will affect our numbers on aging? The overall resolutions will work themselves out. Am I right about this new pathway that you have us on?
Well, actually, appellate operations is already completely first in, first out. We made that transition recently because we were able to, address the cases, make sure we want the older ones handled just as soon as possible, right? So yes, the answer is Yes.
I guess I should be clear. Will the field offices start to put the emphasis on the first in, first out also, as the appellate division has done?
Well, okay. I was gonna say-
We've been first in, first out. We made a decision early on in the pandemic that we would not try to make the time lapse percentage numbers, but focus on first in, first out. And that takes some buy-in from U.S. Department of Labor, and they've agreed with our position.
And that should, in the months coming forward, reveal some beneficial numbers for the state of California on not the time lapse, but the aging of the cases.
Correct.
Okay. Good luck.
Well, thank you for your report. And I just want to, for all of you sitting across from us over in this, it's been a huge change to go to the CAMS system, and it's great for the public, and it's been, quite a change for all of us at all the levels of the organization. And to me, I know it's going to continue to evolve. I guess one thing I want to just say is that while sitting here, I was thinking about when I was in grade school and how happy I would be when I would get an A on a paper. But then there were some students in my class who would get an A+, and the teacher would write, "Thank you for the additional work that you put into this." And so, Vice Chair Kent Monning, I just want to thank you for working so diligently with all of us to help us transition to the new system, and to always be really enthusiastic about trying to find better ways to do the work and to basically go the extra mile. So I just wanted to publicly acknowledge you.
Thank you. The real thanks goes to the team, the IT team, and S.J. Bach and everyone who has been there doing it for years at this point. But I was happy to help with the board member perspective and interface to try to make it work as best as we can for what we do.
I think both things could be equally true.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. With that, we'll go on with our meeting. So we will now have Jefferson Willoughby, our Chief Information Officer, give an update on our IT department.
Good morning, and I'll join in the set of congratulations to you, Chair Allen, on
Thank
your
you.
appointment, and wish good morning to the rest of the board as well. I'm happy to report that our My Appeal public portal has launched Vietnamese as of last night. So we have now our third language in the portal. We'll be working on simplified and traditional Chinese next. And we are somewhat, I won't say delayed, but we do have to depend on external translation services to get these elements in context to us, and then we have to make sure that, of course, when we put them in the system, that they are where they are supposed to be. So I believe once upon a time I said it would take about a month in between languages, and for a variety of reasons, those included, it has extended a little bit, but I still see that cadence as being fair in terms of getting all of the appropriate testing done to make sure that when it rolls out correctly. We continue to work on improvements like changes to the board discussion pages, hearing scheduling, and sets of document generation that we still do. We still mail out a fair amount of content to our parties. And those are coming in fairly short order here in the next several weeks. Several other items like updated acknowledgement letters are here with us now. And we're in the final testing stages and knocking several small bugs out of the system as they are reported to us at the same time. We have a queue of items that are coming that include case identification simplifying, if that's a thing, so that the relationship between subcase and master case is a little more intelligible. And many others. If you'd like me to go through them, I'm happy to, but I do appreciate the kudos sent out to the staff in IT. They work very hard to try and get the system as operable as it can be. And we're on a really good trajectory here with our stabilization engagement here through the end of August to deliver on some pretty major things, scheduling being improved scheduling being one of those. And the secret sauce, it's just Thousand Island dressing.
I don't believe that. But that's part of it being a secret sauce. Well, thank you. Before I turn over to questions, I just, sometimes, in some ways, I'm very simple in terms of my needs, and I just want to let you know that I want to thank all of you who are responsible for putting in the darker type when we read the CAMS cases, because I was really struggling with the lighter type, and I made a number of suggestions that it be made a little bit more legible, and so my eyes thank you. And it does make the work a little bit easier. So thank you. I know it's a small little thing, but it helps. So having thanked you for that, I'll turn it over to my vice chair.
Thank you, Chair Allen. No questions. Just again, kudos to you and the whole IT team. I think it can be daunting when your job involves tickets and tickets and tickets that just keep piling up. But the work that has been done has really improved what everyone at the agency can do. And I hope that your team realizes that. So in the face of long lists of tickets to keep changing CAMs, it's making a huge impact, and it's made me like CAMs a whole lot more when some of those interfaces got upgraded. So thanks to your whole team and to you.
Member Rang.
Thank you, Chair Allen. I remember when CAMS was just a concept, and we would log on and see stage 1, stage 2. And now the house has been built, and looking forward to perfecting the furniture, so to speak. As you know, I've always been curious as to what comments, of course, that you receive internally from the parties and the CUIAB family, so to speak. I wanted to know if what you're receiving in the way of feedback from the parties, the employers, the claimants, the nonprofits, the advocates about CAMS. Is there any way to harvest that feedback? Are there any themes that you're noticing now that the house has been built, so to speak?
I will say that we continue to use the My Appeal FAQ page as the primary sort of external source for the public to give us comments on things that they would like to see easier or just give us commentary on the system. The comments that come through are I can't say there's a huge wave of those. They generally have to do with procedural items. How do I? Many of those questions are actually answered on the FAQ pages where the questions are answered. So the FAQ page continues to mature as we get this type of commentary in. As far as working with others in other constituencies, if you will, and stakeholders, I know that Chief Kutry meets regularly with the EDD side and other stakeholder groups to make sure that if they have things that they would like to see from us or have questions of us, he fields those on occasion.
Yeah, I can add to that. We do meet quarterly with an advocate group, which is significant sized. And they come and go, and they don't all attend all the meetings, but there's a core group that leads that. And by and large, they are extremely satisfied with the portal. They are so impressed by their ability to immediately gather documents and submit documents instead of wait for paper or in-person visits. They have given us suggestions along the way, and so we continue to incorporate those wherever possible. They've been following the language updates especially, and they're very pleased with that as well. And sometimes they'll give us little updates. We'd prefer if you said it this way or that way, especially in a foreign language, and so we're able to accommodate those. So that's a continually monitored source of feedback. They represent a lot of our parties, so they get to use our system quite a bit. Obviously, the next will be EDD's incorporation, so we're working extensively with them on what they would need to accomplish use in the portal. And then we'll have other large user organizations that will approach your feedback as we include them as well.
Yeah, thank you. I was going to say that part of the suggestion process, it goes the other way too, that we would have a lot of feedback for EDD because obviously they're a huge part of the product that we receive. So thank you for your report, Chief Willoughby.
Member Wojtkowski.
Yeah. Chair Allen, it's the 17 months or so that I've been here, I am really have sit back and think about the IT buzz that our department and Chief Willoughby has created. I mean, just yesterday we went live with the Vietnamese interpretations, which seems like every month there's some big thing that happens in the IT realm, and I never thought that IT could be this fun and exciting. So I thank you, Chief Willoughby, for those changes that you've implemented in my short time here. But it's remarkable that we have added yet another language to the arsenal that we have at CUIAB. So kudos to the whole team.
Well, you know, for us who have gone through the Senate confirmation process, whenever we brought up IT, we were met with quite a bit of skepticism as to whether the project would end well for us, but it has, and it's continuing to improve over time. So thank you.
That's why it's called IT. It's it.
So we don't have our Chief Administrative Services Officer, Robert Silva, with us today, but do we have any report or update from that?
I've given my abridged version of the administrative services report previously, so I don't have anything.
Okay,
Thank you.
good enough. So I will turn to our Chief Counsel and ask, do we have any closed session items today?
Thank you, Chair Allen, and let me first express my congratulations to you on your appointment. Like the rest of us here, it's such a privilege to work with you and continue to learn from you, and so we're very grateful that you'll continue with us. Having said that, we do have closed session today.
Okay. Well, before we go to closed session, with all the congratulations today, all I can say is likewise. Likewise. So we are going to enter a closed session. The board will now recess its open session and meet in closed session to deliberate on the appointment of the board's Chief Administrative Services Equity Officer. After we are done with closed session, we will come back into open session. So we are now going to closed session. I'm bringing the board back from closed session. We're resuming our open session. And the board has deliberated on and voted to move forward with the administrative processes for the selection and appointment of our agency, CUIB's Chief of Administrative Services and Equity Officer. And we have voted to move forward, and that's the result of our closed session. I think there's no further business, and I believe it's appropriate to close the session. It's the end of our meeting. Thank you, everyone.